righty. So I hope you're ready. This is quite the whirlwind tour we're about to take. So let's start with some sad statistics. Even in a normal year, Americans leave 50% of their paid vacation days on the table. And we as business leaders, owners, we're the worst at it. I think so many of us, ironically, have become business owners so that we could have this work-life balance. And part of that is to be able to do this. And then tragically, we don't do it as much as we had hoped. So that's something that I think is innate to all of us, as is the reason why we travel. I think most people specifically are interested in a bit of escapism, especially in a year like 2020, and also exploration. And like Bertha said, I really believe that travel can broaden your horizons if you give yourself over to that magic of that when you travel, no matter where it is that you go. And the truth is that it is healthy for us to get away on vacation. There are actually studies about it. I like those studies. They're very good. But we need to get away. We need to unplug from, business and internet and all that. We need to recharge our batteries, spend some quality time with people like our friends and our families. It's definitely part of that self-care that in a normal year is something that I think we all acknowledge and take advantage of. At least we mean to. But especially now, especially during times of stress and strain, it's really great to have something to look forward to and then actually do it. Having a vacation on the books is really good for you. It's a healthy thing to look forward to. So today we're going to embark on a very whirlwind tour. We're going to tap into your inner escapist, your inner explorer. And while we do that, I want you to kind of consider a few questions. And these are part of my qualifying questions when I talk to clients. I don't really qualify people. Everybody qualifies for a vacation. But it's not as simple as, and I do get these questions. I'm sure Marion will agree. People will say, I just want to go somewhere warm when it's cold. And even though that's an admirable idea, you can do better than that. There's so many things that go into choosing how you escape and where that I think it's worthy for you to consider those things when you are cooking up that next vacation for yourself. So I want you to think about where in the world you want to go. Really, the sky is the limit. One thing I've learned in the 6.5 years I've had my business is that there really isn't any vacation that's out of bounds. There's so many ways to make it work. So where in the world do you want to go? What kind of experiences are you interested in? It doesn't have to be just one thing. You can relax on a beach for a week, but what else do you want to do? There's lots of things that go into the experience of a vacation. It's also, how do you want to travel? Do you want to stay put and do day trips? Do you want to be spontaneous? Do you want to be on part of a tour? Do you like cruising? There's lots of hows, right? Lots of different ways to go about traveling. But most importantly, it's about what's your why? And I know we all ask the what's your why question, especially when we're talking to clients and thinking about how to serve their needs. But what's your why is a really important conversation to have when you're working with a travel professional. Unlike when you maybe are kind of spitballing on your own, it's an internal conversation. But when you work with someone, giving them your why really helps them customize an experience that's suited just for you. And that's really an important piece of how I work with my clients. And then lastly, of course, it's about a commitment to when, because if you don't put a vacation on a calendar, nobody's going to do it for you. So as you kind of think about all these things, really give yourself permission to kind of aim for the stars, because we're going to go on a crazy whirlwind tour. Now, I'm going to let the following slides really kind of speak to themselves. They're all labeled. So if something catches your eye, you can take a screenshot of it. But I'm not going to talk about all of them because there's just simply too many beautiful places. And I can tell you this slide deck was twice as long as it is now. So here we go. It is organized by, continent, and there's lots of different types of travel in here. So that's really what I'm going to talk about. If you wanted to do something really unusual, you could do what's called expedition touring in places like the Galapagos Islands. if you're interested in going places about celebrations, there are timely vacations like going to Carnival, whether that's in Venice or in Rio. You could also be inspired by nature. There's so many magnificent places to see in this world. It could be because you love being outdoors. You could be inspired by history. That's one of the things that gets me going. Machu Picchu here on this page is on the top of my bucket list. There's so many things that represent that why for us. Some people love touring cities. Some people like being outside. In a place like Australia, China, there's such vast places that they really cater towards a particular kind of vacation, like going on a tour. Some people are inspired by the things they're passionate about, whether it's wine, you can wine travel all over the world, or maybe it's an outdoor pursuit like golf, or you're very active enthusiast. Maybe you love snorkeling. There are places all over the world that can cater to that. There's also the kinds of places that are kind of quintessentially picture perfect in our minds, like the South Pacific. And outrageous places that are as exotic as Antarctica, which is an up and coming destination. Who would have thought? The world is really attainable. And like I said, when I mentioned Australia, there's some places that are so big that if you really want to cover a lot of ground, touring is the best way to go. Other places really gravitate to a cruise situation, like Japan and New Zealand. Those two countries have so much to offer, and literally dotting around their coastlines for a week and a half is the best way to see them. There's up and coming places you might be reading about in like Travel and Leisure magazine, things like that might inspire you. Portugal, Iceland, Turkey, places like that. There's also other reasons we love to get inspired. There are parts of us that kind of have held on to ideas maybe since we were kids, like going on a safari in Africa and seeing the most amazing animals in the world. Or even for me, like going to Egypt. I've always wanted to go to Egypt. It's still sitting on the bucket list. There's a reason to talk about those things. There's a reason to embrace this as a not such a really crazy idea after all. One of the benefits of working with a travel agent is they have all this length and breadth of information at their fingertips, and understanding what interests you really helps them serve your interests. And that plan could take time. There's no reason to not talk to a travel agent, even if you're not thinking about traveling for a couple of years. You can really make it all work together. Most of my clients go to Europe more than anywhere else in the world. I do a lot of European travel for my clients. And I personally specialized in Ireland and the UK, Italy, and Greece. Those are my most I'm super savvy in all those places. I do a lot of travel there myself. But I always encourage anybody who is going to Europe, particularly because it's such a target-rich environment, to consider what else they might be thinking about in Europe while they're there. Because truly, once you cross the ocean, it's so easy to get to another place. Tack on Amsterdam. Go ahead. I mentioned Iceland before. Iceland is so close to the Northeast. It's really an easy trip. And you might even see the Northern Lights, Bertha. Wink, wink. So many beautiful places to go. So many great reasons to go on vacation. Explore those ideas for yourself. Explore them and then talk to an agent. As far as popular goes, river cruises have become the most popular thing in the world in 10 years. And there are some that are very timely, like seeing the tulips blooming in the spring in Amsterdam, or going a Christmas market in Germany. There are vacations that are much closer to home. This is Bermuda. It's a short flight from here in the Northeast. So are the Bahamas, both of which are open to US tourists right now. You can get away and be on a tropical island soon. It doesn't sound so bad, does it? Mexico is also open for business right now. All these places are going to have their kind of local current COVID rules, but you can explore these places, whether they're a place to escape and relax, to unwind, get some physical activity going, or do some sightseeing. Now, Canada is not open to us at the time, but you can kind of get a taste of Europe just up the road, so to speak, in Quebec. Again, huge opportunities to travel, especially here at home. We've all been kind of dabbling with maybe weekend trips to maybe our historical cities like Philly, DC, Boston. I'm planning a trip to Boston myself in a couple of weeks. There are other inspirations like music. We have music cities that are great: Nashville, Memphis, New Orleans. You can do a river cruise in the US that dots all three of them. We also have beautiful cities like Savannah, Charleston, San Antonio, Albuquerque, great places to go for long weekends. Chicago. Of course, Orlando is a perennial favorite for people with families or those who are young at heart. Other big draws in our own country are Alaska. Of course, that's a seasonal thing. That's more of a May to September thing. So much to see and explore in Alaska. Anybody who's been will tell you, worth it. There's also Hawaii. There's never a bad time to go to Hawaii. Never a bad time to go to Hawaii. Of course, we've got beaches on every part of our country. Florida is probably most popular. I always recommend Puerto Rico as another great destination, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. St. Thomas is always has its Megan's Bay as one of like the top 5 world beaches every year. And of course, we have our national parks: Yosemite, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon, continue to be the top 3 draw on that. Our cities are great. Sea to Shining Sea, Shining Sea. We've got California has got plenty to see and do. That's another one of the top 5 places to go in the United States. I do encourage you to make use of what's in New York City right now. Museums have reopened in limited capacity. You can still do kind of the touristy thing, like hop a double-decker bus, do a tour. You can take a Circle Line cruise around Manhattan, or this time of year up the Hudson to see the leaves, the beautiful autumn leaves. Take advantage of what's right here. I know it's hard to get away right now for 100 reasons. You can go for a day. You can go for an afternoon and just escape, a little escape. It might just be enough to tide you over. So now that we've gotten a lot of pictures, a lot of visual stimulation, perhaps maybe too much, I want to encourage you to just close your eyes for a minute, take a mental break for just a moment. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. And picture yourself on vacation. Where are you? Who are you with? What will you see? What will you experience? What might you learn? And will you make friends along the way? That picture you've painted, it's different from everybody else's pictures. You might have a lot of pictures. I know I do. Like I said, bucket lists are easy to build. If you give yourself permission to do it and really put your imagination to work, any of the places I've shown you, any of the places I haven't shown but have been, kind of scratching in the back of your brain for years, can really be attainable. And if you work with a travel professional like myself, like Marion, we are in a position to not only help you plan such a vacation, but help you avoid pitfalls and help you understand the lay of the land, set expectations. There's so much more that we offer as travel professionals than simply going online and doing an internet search. And like I said, when you're ready to do something about turning that idea into a plan, right? Got to put it on paper to make it a plan. I hope you'll contact one of us. There's a lot of benefits to working with a travel professional. This graphic has just got a handful of them, but I'll give you 2 really valid ones that I often express. One has been 2020 has offered its own great kind of, reason to use a travel agent. If any of you have had a trip this year canceled, whether it's because your flights got canceled or you didn't feel safe or because your cruise got canceled or what have you, you had to deal with all the fallout of dealing with, whether that's a refund or a credit or dealing with policy changes and hoping maybe you got the best solution. I did that for my clients this summer. Marion too. I mean, we've spent months being the best advocates we can be for our clients. And we do that anyway, in the planning stages, all the way through the day you come home. Being your advocate is something that's really valuable. and important to tap into when you work with an agent. The other thing I'll mention is that we all see the commercials all the time for all the online travel agencies like Expedia and that Trivago guy. He annoys me. And he really does. He annoys me. But we all see those commercials. But the truth is that even if you have an idea, you know, I want to go to Aruba, and you Google it, you'll get millions of hits. And where do you start? How do you know what information is trustworthy? How do you know how to decipher things? It's very easy to kind of trip into comparing things on price, but there's so much more that differentiates different cruise lines, different tours, different resorts, different experiences than just the number, even though that's a quantitative thing that you can kind of wrap your head around. There's also a lot of non-curated content. I think the most popular one that people gravitate to is TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. All those websites like Expedia and all of them, they'll have TripAdvisor rating systems on like hotels and stuff. The problem with TripAdvisor is I can go up there right now and write a review for any property, whether I've been there or not. I can write a lousy one or a great one. It's uncurated content. There's no one that's validating it. And I have done that just to kind of prove it to somebody. I've gone up and said, pick a hotel, any hotel, and write a review. And within 20 minutes, it's sitting online. It's just stuff. It's not curated. When you work with a travel agent and you say, oh, you know, Christy, I'd like to think about this trip. I've always wanted to go to Paris. We'll talk about all those things that are of interest to you, the things that are not of interest to you, and all your whys. But then you'll get curated choices back that have been hand selected based on those conversations, based on you. And that makes it a very valuable service to tap into instead of just using it online. So having said that, that's me pleading the case for travel agents. I hope that when you're ready to do something about turning that idea into a reality, I hope you'll reach out to a travel professional. It is really very easy to do. Briefly, I'll give you a picture of what the state of things are today. I think we all know that there are some places that are very welcoming to US travelers and some places not so much. For example, Canada and most of the countries in the European Union, thank you, but no, they're not interested in having us there at this time. But other places are open and welcoming us, such as Mexico and some islands in the Caribbean, Turkey. There are other places that are happy to have us in the short term. It is on every individual as a traveler to definitely be aware of and responsible to local quarantine rules where you're going. That's not just about the country or the state or, you know, the local region, but also maybe the hotel or the, we didn't even talk about theme parks, but things like that. You have to be really responsible to that. But also, of course, understanding the rules about when you come home. Two things that are really important that are going on right now are cruise lines, tour companies, many hotels, to a lesser degree, airlines and other things. They're having a lot of unique book with confidence policies that are happening right now. And that is that, generally speaking, they're giving you an opportunity to put down refundable deposits. And after you've come much closer to your vacation and you've made a final payment, you're still in a position to cancel your trip and retain the value of it. They'll keep a credit. You'll keep a credit of that full amount, sometimes even more, for up to 2 years. So you have a lot of flexibility in making plans now and still having control over what's going to happen in the future. The decision-making is still in your hands. Pair that with great promotional opportunities that are happening right now. It is a win-win for travelers. It's also about traveling now. If you're really interested in getting away in the short term, maybe interested in a villa rental for you and your family, maybe over the holidays, or you just want to take advantage of the fact that really nobody's traveling right now and I could go to Aruba and have a resort practically to myself. Those things are available right now at great rates. Even the long-term stuff, you know, planning an Alaska trip for next summer, they're great rates. So combine the kind of flexibility of those book with confidence options and promotional rates. It's a kind of a buyer's market, if you will. One other thing that's going on is there has been a complete cessation of cruise sailing in the United States, around the United States, through the end of November. That date has moved several times over the last many months. Several cruise lines have worked together to put together a return to sailing proposal that was delivered to Vice President Pence earlier this month. It's now at the CDC. This morning, there was some information back that it's been received very well. This includes 12 very significant points about health and wellness protocols, including, the most important of which is everyone would get tested, both crew and passengers, before every cruise. And they have to, it's going to be a requirement to have a COVID-free result before sailing. There are 2 cruise lines that are currently sailing right now on the Med. They have been for a couple months, since the middle of August, incident-free, using these policies already. So we're encouraged about sailing returning for 2021. I'm actually hosting a presentation on the 18th of November with some industry leaders talking about the current state of what it really looks like right now to travel at resorts, on tours, and cruising. So if you are interested in that, I encourage you to sign up for one of my weekly presentations. That will be posted later today. You can register for that, but you can always see all those presentations I'm always talking about. I'm always hawking. We have our Najabo meetings at this link, this We Will Travel Again events link. You can always reach me. Please follow me on social. I'd be happy to follow your business back. And I hope that you've enjoyed our little whirlwind tour, and I hope you keep dreaming about traveling someday.